Hello and welcome to the channel again. This video is a follow-up on my Dropbar 29er video that I made probably about a year ago, I think now. Actually, I didn't have a look on the title, but I've had the bike for the best part of 18 months since it was built. And I thought it'd be a nice video to do a follow-up on it because whilst out and about a few rides, I've been asked by people whether, oh, do you use that all the time, or don't you find that slow going on the road, etc., because of the fat tyres? Well, not a lot could be further from the truth, actually. The tyres that I've got are Schwalbe's G1 tyres, which although they look quite fat, they're 2.3 by 29. They're actually quite lightweight and very, very fast rolling. They don't require a great deal of pressure, they run tubeless, and the wheel set's quite light as well. It's a giant SL wheel set taken off a Defy actually that I had a while back. So it rolls along quite nicely. The main reason for the video was just to let everyone know whether it's the kind of bike that you could use on an everyday basis, and the answer to that is yes. I've been using this all through the winter. Also been using it in the summer months. I've been using it in mud. I've been using it on road. In fact, every kind of terrain that you could possibly mix together, I've been using it on, and it's been fantastic. The main points of the bike is it's capable of doing practically anything that you want to do. Sometimes I like to ride on the roads, sometimes I like to ride on the trails, and sometimes I like to take fire roads or the odd descent and things that I would have done on my mountain bike. Obviously on this it's a little bit more precarious, so I don't ride the same kind of terrain I would my mountain bike, but it gives me the opportunity to ride that kind of terrain. That's the difference. Whereas if I went out on my road bike and the traffic's quite heavy and I see a trail that I want to take, I can't do it on the road bike, but on this one I can. And that's the real advantage of it. That's what I like doing on my bike, not just road and not just off-road. I like doing a combination of both. If I go somewhere that's going to have a trail or a couple of trails that I want to try, I'll ride there. I don't take the car with the bike in it. Right, so without any further delay, let's have a look at what's been done. Now, this is a video I shot, well, this weekend actually, of the bike in its present state. It's got a few chips in it now with the paintwork because it's been used literally in all weathers, and it's dropped the chain a couple of times, which is where most of the paint has come off. But otherwise, the paint job that I did on the original, you can see on the original video, is still looking very, very good, very presentable. Now, the bike has got some, if you're a road rider, I would say you might think the bike's got some very unfashionable items, but for the kind of riding I do, they're necessary, and I found them to be a very, very capable bike because of some of the unfashionable items that I've put on there. As you can see, the cassette is it's an 1136 on the back. It's the mountain bike cassette, and it has a triple chain ring. You can probably tell by this that I don't consider myself a very strong rider, although I get out and over some very, very steep hills. I don't do it very quickly. Now, the chain rings at the front are a 44, 32, 26. The 26 might be a little bit on the too easy side for me, as I don't, generally speaking, use the last three big sprockets on the cassette if I'm in that ring, but I have used the small chain ring before, especially at the end of a long 60 kilometre ride with a steep hill at the end of it. I tend to use that quite a bit when I'm quite tired. It's also got gravel bars. These are very, very wide bars with the ends are flared so they sit outwards. They are superbly comfortable, and because the brake levers themselves sit at an angle, it's almost like riding a flat bar. You can see it's got a mirror on it on the right hand side, which I put on there as an experiment more or less, but it hasn't come off since I put it on there. It's such a such a valuable item to have on a bike. if you've never ridden with a mirror before on a bike, I would suggest if you can stand the ridicule of friends, if they ridicule you for this kind of thing, you won't go back. Basically, if you can put up with the ego issues or the fashionista items that you might have to put up with, you won't go back. It's such a great item to have. It gives you so much more warning about what's going on behind you. You can see the crank there that we just filmed. That was the one of the, I made a video about that one because the crank was in a terrible state when I got it. It's an eBay special where it had been abused on a mountain bike and it had loads of chips and dents and all sorts of things in it, and it definitely needed a paint job from the heel rub that it had on the arms. But overall, I've been very pleased with the bike. I've loved using it on a daily basis. The braking is excellent, even with these TRP. I think they're called high road or hydraulic road calipers. So they work on cables, but they've got a hydraulic cylinder at the back of it, actually on the caliper itself, which works really well. Now, further unfashionable items are a huge saddlebag with loads of tools and kit that I carry. You can see these triathlete cage on the back for carrying extended water bottles, which I quite like in the summer. You can see they've got inner tubes tied to the outsides of them. Basically, I can loop this over the bottle caps, which retains the bottles in them when I go off-road, because they do get taken and flung out the back on some particularly big jumps and things. So it's quite handy to have. Other items you can see there is a camera mount on top of the handlebars, a bottle cage, a pump. I don't like using CO2 containers because on previous rides before I've had several punctures in one go, and the CO2 one will give you one or two shots and then you're back to square one again. So I start off on square one with a decent pump and the facilities to repair them. I do carry tubes inside the saddlebag in case I need them, but more often than not, very, very small punctures are more than easily catered for with the sealant and the tyres. I think it's SKS actually, or is it a German company? I can't remember. I looked at so many to try and get it done. I'll fish them out and put a link basically in the description, so if you need mudguards for this kind of thing. The only problem was in the rear mudguard, they didn't go around quite enough, so I've had to make an extension on the back to cover it because I wanted the mudguard to cover right the way down to almost the bottom bracket. And this is the only way I could do it and still have the coverage for it. If I take the little extension off the back of it, I get road spray from the tyre with the amount of water it pulls up, hitting my back, which is noticeable. You wouldn't think so on a rainy day, but it is noticeable when you can feel it coming from behind you as well as from above you. It's a great item. I have no regrets having the mudguards on there, but I do get some strange looks from roadies around the roads in Kent, but they're not the kind of roadies that I see when it's out in heavy weather. So it really doesn't affect it doesn't have an effect on my ego, to be honest. What else about the bike? The ride quality is really, really good. You have a huge cushion of air with these tyres, and the ride quality is, oh my god, it's like riding a sofa. Potholes, imperfections in the road, cobbles I've ridden over it in a town centre. I'll give you an idea. The tyre pressures on this, if I'm going off road, I will run them at about 18 psi. That's 1/8 psi. When I use them on the road, the ideal tyre pressure is around 23 to 25 psi. That's the pressures they run. And at 25 psi, it's rolling really quickly. You can put more air in it, it doesn't make a difference to anything other than the ride quality, which goes bad when you put too much air in it. The speed is the same. So you might as well run it with 23, 24 psi. It is a strange thing to say, but they roll just as fast as my racing bike, apart from when you get into the higher speed range, over 20 miles an hour, then it's probably more due to the fact that I'm fat. The bike has a huge frontal area because of the handlebars, tyres, etc., etc. And I'm not really into speed riding everywhere. I've got other bikes that I can do that with. This bike is for getting out and covering miles, doing it in comfort, and occasionally I take cameras and things out with me as well. So you can see on the handlebar mount there is actually a mount for a camera on the handlebar. I've now started filming a little bit more with the e-bike because I can carry better tripods and things for doing stuff. So if you do see me out in the hills on the e-bike, forgive me, I'm not trying to cheat you. I'm just trying to carry a lot of gear, which is a whole lot easier on that bike and also a lot safer because it's got panniers and racks and all sorts of things on it. So it's pretty good for that. Right, what else can we say about the bike? Would I build another one? Well, I can't see. I've been having a look on a few sites and things about whether I wanted to change the frame to a carbon fibre or a TI one. I've ridden TI frames before. To be perfectly honest, I can't tell the difference between a good aluminium frame and a TI one. So I wouldn't bother. I can tell the difference between an aluminium frame and a carbon one if it's made well, but it's not worth the effort to swap it all over with the paint job I've done. Will I do another paint job on a bike? Yes, I probably will. I love the creative side of doing that. I've done many paint jobs previously. If I do get a bare frame and something different, it'll be because I want to do it, not because I need to do it. I'm quite happy with the way the bike rides. It rides like a sofa. Doesn't feel heavy like a sofa, but it rides like a sofa. One of the downsides of the tyres is it's got a huge contact patch on it. So when you get down to very, very slow speeds and trying to balance on the bike, the steering becomes very, very draggy with the contact patch and the low tyre pressures. So you've got to be a little bit careful with that. But when you're moving, the grip is incredible cornering. There isn't a bike that can corner. I've taken some corners extremely quickly with this bike, which at my age I really shouldn't be doing, but it's so competent that you kind of forget the fact that you're riding a contact patch. Unlike a racing bike, it's more like a motorbike with a tyre contact patch, and with the soft rubber on it, it grips and grips and grips. So it becomes a little bit of a thing. As I say, I don't do huge descents at high speeds nowadays. I just want to get round the courses and things that I've laid out, and I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to risk my neck by trying to go a few kilometres an hour faster. The fastest speed I've ever been on the bike is 97 kilometres an hour. I don't ever want to do that again. So for this suits me ideally. It's just ideal for my kind of riding, which is why I like it. So please hit the like button or the thumbs up. Please feel free to give me comments and things if you want to know about the build, or if there's anything about the build that you'd like to know about. There's been some interesting stuff on there, like the dogtooth rear extender hanger. But it's been a really great bike. If you're thinking about doing something like this and you do the kind of riding where you want to go off-road and road as well, I would 100% suggest you give it a go. I kind of like the idea of a gravel bike, but I think this is a step forward. This is the way gravel bikes will be going. They've just tried to do it for 3 or 4 years to sell you 2 different bikes, when you'll end up in the same place probably anyway. With this frame, because it's a 29er, I don't have to run 26 wheels, or sorry, 27.5 wheels to get the bigger tyre in. It fits with the bigger tyre to start with. So I could run narrower tyres with it if I wanted to for more speed on the road. Never felt the need to do it, to be honest. But if I want to, I can do it. But the main thing is I can run the big wheels and tyres in the big wheel size without compromise. I can also put a fork on it, a suspension fork I do have one, but I've never felt the need to do it because I don't want to encourage myself into more extreme off-road rides, because I will have an accident and I will regret it at my age. I just don't fancy doing that anymore. Anyway, as I say, please leave likes, and if you want to subscribe, I will be putting more bike stuff up. I seem to spend a lot of my time walking dogs at the moment. but I need to get out on my bike a lot more than I am and film a lot more than I do. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video and find it a bit informative anyway. Cheers, goodbye.